It's an important message for us. I tried to keep an eye on this because my signal isn't that great coming out of here. For some reason, I only have 2 bars.
We can't, with the computer in here, we can't get it on wireless at all.
Really?
Yeah, I had to load local files.
Yeah, so it's really funny. I guess I'm close enough to the door here. Hi, guys. Shane Snipes with Sustainable 1000. We were just having a conversation. We probably got cut off mid-sentence, which I hope wasn't too disruptive to you, those of you guys who are watching. I'll get some of your tweets now, but we were just talking about something which I thought was really interesting before in relationship to sustainability and making a local choice and thinking about it in terms of local issues. What were we just talking about? Because I think that was just fascinating.
Okay, yeah, we'll see where we need to back up. Hopefully we won't repeat too much. We were talking about local being a criterion that doesn't just work toward environmental sustainability. So in my mind, to choose local foods might be a choice you make for ecological health or for economic health or community health or the health of your body or your children's bodies. There are a lot of reasons to think about making a shift toward that.
Sure.
And then we also were talking about how in some of the other states you visited, and it seems to be the case here in Iowa, we produce so much food. You know, we're a really fertile area, and yet we export a lot of singular crops which get made into processed foods, and then we import it back in. So one source that I looked at here for Iowa said that more than 90% of our more than 90% of our land area is farmland, yet nearly 90% of what we eat is imported. And that's staggering. That's not something we see when we're at the grocery store.
Right. I know, and it kind of blew my mind that in a lot of other parts of the U.S., like Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, even Nebraska, and a lot of those other places, Oklahoma, where you have a lot of food that's being grown in those places, they do the same thing. They take their food and they send it away, and it comes back to them in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it's, because of any short-sightedness or lack of goodwill. It's simply we have a system where the scale has gotten so large that we don't immediately see those contradictions. And I think we're now at a point in time where we're starting to see some of those connections and think about how they work.
Yeah, and one of the big connections to that is the connection of health.
Yes.
To processed food and having everything processed away for us and then sent back.
Yeah.
So addressing that issue as an educational component must be a big challenge for an artist.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you thought of any ways that you might represent that?
I have a little bit. I think that could be a whole other project. When I first started this project, some people recommended to me, why don't you just focus on communicating to children? Or something like that. We're at a really pivotal point in time. I've read that perhaps 1 in 3 children born today will develop type 2 diabetes. That's astounding because all of those food-related diseases can wreak havoc on our bodies and be tied to the corn syrup and the other things that are in processed foods. So I know there's a lot of research going on about that. I don't consider myself an expert by any means, but some of the things that I've looked at, for example, I discovered that the average American consumes maybe 63 pounds of corn syrup a year.
Oh, wow.
And when you think of it, aggregate, that's a really different volume. So I had one plate design in the first show, a dining plate actually, with a graphic on there trying to hit home that it was about eating, realizing that that's the weight of a child, and I looked at which age group that would be. I also found that more than half of the vegetables consumed in the United States are one of 3. Potatoes, often fried.
Right.
Tomatoes, often ketchup or pizza sauce or tomato sauce. And iceberg lettuce. So I started looking at ways in graphics to juxtapose that few with how many things grow. I think in Tennessee there were more than 70 vegetables growing, and here in Iowa it's even more. And so I think we're maybe at a point in time where we could stand to relearn all these other options. There's great stuff out there, but it does take some changes in habit. What do you do with the kohlrabi? How do you cook it? It's not as easy as chopping up iceberg lettuce.
Sure, or ramps.
We've lost some of that culinary.
You know what a ramp is?
I do.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know what a ramp is. I gave my friend some ramp jelly because I found it in West Virginia at this local store, and I bought this ramp jelly for them, and I gave it to my friends in Columbus, Ohio, and they're like, what's a ramp?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even know what a ramp was. And these are they're not foodies, but they definitely have a great sense of,